Now, having done a detailed assessment which you saw in our previous video, it's very important to document our findings in a very systematic and an organized manner, that you make sure that you are utilizing all the information that you have obtained. Because if the obtained information is not put up in an organized manner, you will land up making very less meaning out of it. Whereas if you put it in a very organized and a systematic way, you will have a very fine idea of what you want to target, B, you will have a baseline and you will be very sure of how to gauge the progress, and C, you will be clear about your findings, and it will be very helpful for counseling the patients. Because after the end of the assessment, patients' relatives will definitely ask you about, what exactly are we working on and how should we go about it. If you have it in a very organized manner, it becomes very easy for you to share it with them. So today I am just going to tell you about how to document your findings from the assessment of the oromotor structure. So number 1, you have assessed it at rest, you have assessed it in the speech movement, you have assessed it during non-speech movement. So these are your major headings. So at rest, speech functions, non-speech function. What all did you assess? You assessed right from the start. You assess the lips, you assess the jaw, you assess the tongue. To some extent you even assess the hard palate and the soft palate. So these become your major structures. There are more structures, like people do include more of them, but these are basic by and large the structures that you will be assessing. Now you went first, you assessed range in the range of movement at rest, range of movement during speech and during non-speech task. Range of movement doesn't come at rest. At rest you just observe the symmetry of the structure. You just observe for any abnormal findings, for example fasciculation, fibrillation and tremors. Those are the things you observe at rest. So at rest, for lips you will just mention symmetrical, asymmetrical. If say asymmetrical, mention deviated towards left, deviated towards right. That's at rest for lips. Then you move to the next, that is during the speech movement, range of movement. So we are right now just talking about the range during speech. So range during speech, adequate, inadequate. If inadequate, inadequate towards which side? Left side, right side. Then move to non-speech task. For non-speech task, when you talk about lip, you assess the lip seal, but in range of the movement, the lip seal, basically you will be assessing the retraction, you will be assessing the protrusion, you will be assessing the pursing of the lips. So adequate, retraction, adequate. Lip pursing, inadequate. Lip protrusion, adequate, inadequate. That's how range for lips assessed under 3 categories. I will put up a chart for you so you have a better idea of it. Move to the next one, same way. Now you are assessing jaw for range of movement. At rest, your comment for it, at rest I won't be including in next further videos, because at rest is common. Whether you are assessing range, you are assessing accuracy or strength, at rest is something that you will see for once and mention it for once. So jaw at rest, symmetrical, asymmetrical. If asymmetrical, deviated towards left, deviated towards right. Jaw drooping present, jaw drooping absent, that's what you do at rest. Move to the non-speech functions for jaw. Non-speech functions basically for jaw will be chewing, rotatory movements, present, absent. If present, adequate. If not, if inadequate, mention weakness observed on which side. Then for jaw, range of movement under speech task. So for speech task, you will see whether the jaw movement is adequate, inadequate. If inadequate, is it in the towards the left, towards the right. But when you talk about speech and jaw, left right is not more of purpose. Up down is very important, and a special mention comes tongue jaw dissociation present, tongue jaw dissociation absent. Move down to tongue. So for tongue, range of movement at rest is a common column for all. So at rest, what did you observe for your tongue? Is it symmetrical? Is it at rest having absence of fibrillation, fasciculation, tremors, anything special? Make a note of it. Then you move to tongue during non-speech movement. So lateralization towards the left right, elevation and elevation and retraction. So present, absent. If present, adequate, inadequate. Inadequate, then towards which side? The same thing, but just in a very organized manner. Then you go to the next one, that's the speech movement, range for tongue. During speech movement, what's the range of the movement for tongue? So you will make your finding as whether the speech sounds were clear or no. So if you want to say the, and your tongue movement in the range is inadequate for protrusion. So you land up saying la, la, la. Here two things are there. A, of course the accuracy is affected, that's one thing, and second thing, your tongue is, even if unable to come till that point, of course then also the slurring happens. So you make a note of whether the range is adequate during speech movement. If the tongue coming for the front sounds in the front, is the tongue dropping down when you want to say the back sounds like k, g. Is the tongue moving adequately for retroflexion for saying r, those things you will mention for tongue. And for the palate, actually at rest you just observe if there is any fistula, if there is any cleft, if there is any blue tinge seen for submucous cleft. However, for adults normally this doesn't happen. And for non-speech movement, for palate, you will see if there is any nasal regurgitation, if there is any sort of nasal emission of air that's happening even while the person is not snoring. So sleep, snoring and all those things are the points that you include, but not much in detail. Then you move to the speech task. That's for this palate, you have to see whether there is a clear distinction between hypernasality and hyponasal sounds. So if there is inadequate velar movement, that tells you that the speech will sound hypernasal. If in case of inadequate movement, the palate is the soft palate is very spastic and there is a complete closure even for nasal sound. So then nasals also become oral, because the palate is already in that state which is very spastic. So there is no opening of the nasal and the oral cavity. So it stays that, and all the air goes from the mouth. So the nasal sounds start sounding like non-nasal ones. This is by and large how you do your documentation or putting up of your findings from the assessment. So you know exactly at the end of the assessment what exactly is adequate, what is inadequate, if it is inadequate, towards which side, towards what extent, and everything else. So yeah, this is a chart that you will put. You also make a mention about whether the blowing, sucking, spitting, gargling, swallowing, all those functions are present or absent. If they are present, are they adequate? If they are not present, are they inadequate? I won't say much about the vegetative functions right now, because I will be talking about it in my further videos. Thank you.